And he went on the Sabbath into the synagogue. And there was a man there who had a withered hand, and they were watching him closely to see whether he would heal him on the Sabbath in order to bring charges against him. And Jesus said to the man with the withered hand, "Rise to the center." Then he said to them, "Is it legal on the Sabbath to do good or to do evil, to restore a life or to put to death?" And they kept quiet. Looking around at them with anger, grieved at the hardening of their hearts, he said to the man with the withered hand, "Stretch out your hand." And he stretched out his hand, and it was made new. And going out, the Pharisees held a meeting with the Herodians against Jesus, how they might destroy him. So Jesus withdrew from there and went beside the sea. And a huge crowd followed him from Galilee, and also from Judea and from Jerusalem, from Idumea, from across the Jordan, from Tyre and Sidon. A huge crowd, when they heard what he was doing, came to him. He told the disciples to keep a little boat waiting for him because of the crowd, so they wouldn't crush him. And he healed many people who were sick of various illnesses. And he drove out many demons, but he didn't allow them to speak because they knew him. And he withdrew from there and he went up on a mountain. And he summoned those whom he wanted, so that they might be with him, and he might send them out to proclaim and to give them authority over unclean spirits. And these are the 12 that he chose: Simon, whom he nicknamed Rock, and James, the son of Zebedee, and John, the brother of James, whom he nicknamed Boanerges, that is, sons of thunder, and Andrew, and Philip, Bartholomew, and Matthew, and Thomas, and James, the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, and Simon the Canaanian, and Judas Iscariot, who in fact handed him over. And Jesus was again in a house, and the report went out, and so many people gathered they weren't even able to eat bread. And his family came outside and sought to seize him because they were saying, "He's out of his mind." And the legal experts who came down from Jerusalem were saying, "Oh, he's possessed by Beelzebul. He drives out demons by the authority of the ruler of the demons." And summoning them, Jesus said to them in this riddle, "How is Satan able to drive out Satan? If a house is divided against itself, that house can't stand. And if an empire is divided against itself, that empire can't stand. And if Satan really did rise up and is divided and is against himself, then he can't stand, but he's already at an end. Yet surely no one is able to enter into the house of the strong one and plunder his goods unless first he bind the strong one. Then he can plunder his house." And he said to them, "I tell you, this is the way it is. Everything will be pardoned to humanity. Their sins and whatever blasphemies they blaspheme. But those won't ever receive a pardon, but are guilty of a sin to eternity who blaspheme against the Holy Spirit." See, because they'd been saying he has an unclean spirit. Now, as Jesus was teaching in the house, his mother and his brothers were outside, and they sent word to him. And those seated with Jesus said, "Jesus, Your mother and your brothers are outside. They're seeking you. Jesus said, who is my mother and my brother? And looking at those seated in a circle around him, he said, here is my mother and my brother. Because all who do the will of God, they are my mother and my sister and my brother.